73% of musicians are suffering from either anxiety, mental health issues, or depression, according to the American Psychiatric Association. More artists and musicians are quitting the industry than ever before. And the battle cry is, of course, Spotify. Spotify is the evil dictator that has caused all of this. But is that strictly true? I don't think it is. I do think there is merit of where we are at in 2025 with the current state of play with the music industry and where Spotify plays into that. But is it the whole story to say that this is Spotify's fault? I don't think it is, because at the heart of the music industry is a misaligned triangle of perceived entitlement. You see, you've got the platforms. Now, the platforms believe that they are entitled to negotiate the best deals. After all, some of these labels have been around for almost 100 years. Sony Music started not as Sony Music, but 96 years ago. And they feel entitled that they own the music, especially the most played music, and they should be entitled to the lion's share when it comes to the money. And then you've got the platforms, the DSPs like Spotify and the rest of them, and they feel like they've put the work in. They're the ones who fixed the industry in the first place. They're the ones where people go to consume music. And so therefore, they feel like they should have a certain amount of money, not just for their shareholders, but also for Spotify to carry on growing. And obviously for Daniel Ek to buy a $50 million house, only to knock it down and build an even bigger house. And of course, if you don't like it, there's always the option of you building your own online digital music service provider. Why not? Just go and build your own Spotify if you don't like it. Then after that, you have the consumer. Now, the consumer is the most entitled of everyone, because the consumer has now for over 15 years had access to all of the music for pretty much free. And I know that people say, well, actually, I think technically they pay $10, but you pay $10 to remove the adverts. You still get the music for free. So let's face it, music has been perceived as free for a very long time, and that entitlement has crept into the consumer's mindset. The consumer wants music and they want it for free. Now, here's where it gets tricky, because each party sees itself as the victim, and this creates cognitive dissonance. It kind of deflects the blame and gives justification. Cognitive dissonance is the discomfort you feel when your beliefs don't actually match up with your actions. So, for example, someone says, I care about artists. You say, but you listen to their music for free. Oh yes, I do listen to their music for free, but I very much do care. Do you think you should pay more for the music? Oh, absolutely not. No, I should. But I do play Spotify, so it's not my problem. This is Spotify's issue. I just do what everyone else does. I pay for the music. Well, I pay for Spotify. Should artists get paid more? Yes, but that's on Spotify to fix that problem. You see, it's easier to apportion blame to someone else when in truth, the entire music industry is collapsing all around us. Spotify emerged as the winner back when Napster came on the scene. That was when Napster had obliterated the music industry. Obviously, before that, we had the physical product. We had CDs, we had vinyl, we had cassettes. You'd have to get off your ass and actually go and buy music. And you'd also have to buy a bunch of electronics to be able to play that music. Then music went digital. And as soon as music went digital, everything changed, because there was no need to buy music. So whilst everyone says you should go and buy physical product, that really helps the artist. Yeah, I'm sure it does help the artist, but there isn't a need to do it unless you want to support the artist. And let's face it, you're going to buy a CD. But if you look at CD sales, in 2000, I think was the highest gross of CD sales in America, where there was almost 1 billion CDs sold, compared to 2024, last year, where there was 10.5 million CDs. What a fall from grace. Now, even if when people say, yeah, but vinyl's going through the roof. Okay, vinyl might be getting bigger, but vinyl sold 44 million vinyl albums in America in 2024. So you're looking at 55 million albums sold on CD and vinyl in the entirety of 2024, when there was 1 billion CDs sold in the year 2000. Now, for us to go back to physical, it doesn't make any sense, because not only is it the music industry, but it affects and impacts other industries. For example, the technology or electronics industry. Everyone had to go and buy a record player, go and have to buy a CD. This also affects the car manufacturing industry, because who remembers when CDs were in cars and all your CDs were actually under the seat or maybe in the little visor thing. It also affects retail stores. How many music shops, how many retail CD and vinyl selling stores were there in the world that have now completely vanished? And we cannot go back to those days, even if we want to go back to those days. CDs are now merch. That is the way that people look at them. People will buy them to support their favorite artists, but they don't need to buy them. Why? Because consumers have options, because music went digital. Now, before we start pointing fingers, let's go back to when Napster had obliterated the music industry and everything was free. The labels didn't have a clue what was going on, and you could just download whatever you wanted on Napster or LimeWire or any of the other file sharing services that were out there to get anything, anytime for free. And Spotify came along and said, look, we can't go back to the old days, but I think I've got a solution. And so started the control. And what was really, really good about this was, at the time, even though Spotify had a lot more control, so did we. So did the artists. Because all of a sudden, instead of having to go and play in your local town or city or village to try and get people to come along, you could potentially get your music heard in different parts of the world. And of course, there was MySpace, now Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, everything that's come along that's helped with not just the discovery to be able to build a fan base, then push people to Spotify. The problem is, evolution happened and times have changed. And now we live in a time where everyone is pointing the fingers. The labels are saying, well, hang on a minute, we renegotiated. This is not our problem. This is Spotify. Spotify is saying, well, hang on a minute, it's not our fault. The labels have renegotiated. The consumers are going, I'm not paying any more for money. Everyone is blaming everyone else. And at the end of the day, there's only one person that's getting fucked. And that is you, the artist. Whilst everyone is squabbling, whilst daddy has hit mummy at the dinner table, what's happening here is the artist is getting neglected and inequality is ruling. Now, I'm not telling you anything you don't know as an artist. In fact, over the last couple of weeks, I'm seeing so many YouTube clips and videos that people are sending to me with more and more people covering this and discussing this, one stream, 1 cent, and all of the things that we are talking about to get more equality into the music industry. And I absolutely love it. But let's not make bones about it. Let's not pretend that it's 0.003 to 0.005. That's bullshit. It's 0.002. And maybe 0.002.5, which means that you're probably going to have to get 4 or 5 streams just to get 1 cent. Like, do the math. It doesn't make any sense. We all know this. The problem here is no one's doing anything about it. And so I'm seeing people going, we got to get back to physical. We got to boycott Spotify. We've got to do a bunch of different things. Look, here's why the music industry is collapsing and where it's going at the moment is creaking, which could be really good news for us as artists. Okay, think of it like this. You live in a shared house and there are 6 people in this shared house and you buy all of the food and you cook all of the food for everyone. Why? Because you have a real passion for cooking. So you're the house chef. And because you want to cook the things you want to cook, you also buy all of the food. Seems pretty fair. Now, one of the other housemates, let's call him Jeff. Jeff owns the house and therefore he also owns the fridge and he owns the stove that you cook on and he pays for the gas and he pays for the electricity. And you go, well, that seems pretty fair. The problem now is there's 4 other fuckers who don't do anything. What they do is they start dictating, they go in the fridge, they steal the food, they eat it. Now at the beginning when you all started moving in together and you were like, I've just got a passion for cooking, this is really good. And Jeff's kind of going, yeah, come on, let's all crash at my place, this is going to be awesome. 15 years later, everyone's still there. You're still buying and cooking the food, Jeff's still paying for everything, and there's 4 people that keep going to the fridge and eating everything, and it's starting to piss you off. Now what's happened is you get to the point where you just go, oh, I can't be bothered anymore. So therefore, you go, cook your own food, right? And everyone goes, what? You go, yeah, do you want to buy your own food, cook your own food, I don't care anymore, you stop doing it. And everyone goes to the fridge, and they go, where's all the food gone? And it gets to dinner time, and they go, where's the food gone? Well, it's gone. That's what happens because you got fed up and you left. And this is what we are seeing. We are seeing more artists leaving the music industry on a kind of monthly basis. More artists are leaving the music industry now than they ever have before. And this is why we have so much entitlement, because one of the housemates has just stepped up and said, hang on a minute, where's my flaming mignon and my duck foam starter? Well, I'll tell you where it is. It's fucked off. That's what's happened. And that's what's going to happen with Spotify as more and more artists are leaving. It is not what I want to happen. I want artists to be able to build their careers in the way that they want, and I want them to be rewarded for it. I am still a huge believer in the fact that you have control. You are able to build your audience, to monetize your fan base, base, to build opportunities in the right way. I'm working on it. There's loads of artists that are doing it. I'm watching it happen. The problem I see is at the moment is you're just having to do a lot of work and you're not getting rewarded in the way that you should. Doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means you should get rewarded more. So let me make one thing perfectly clear, because I'm getting so many DMs and messages and I appreciate them so much. But this is not going to change by people boycotting Spotify yet. This is not going to change by you trying to bring back physical CDs or vinyl. It might help you make a bit of money, and I am all for that. But that is not going to change it. There is only one way that will change this, and that is legislation. It's the only way. Because if you look at the three main parties involved, everyone's pointing fingers. The consumer doesn't want to pay more. Tough. The labels don't want to have to go back where they have less control. Tough. Spotify's on a pretty sweet deal. Daniel X just bought a nice place in Marbella or wherever he's bought it, and he's kind of going, just invested in Barcelona, the football club. Maybe I'll buy Arsenal. Great. He doesn't want to lose out. Tough. Because the artists are getting to the point where this is unsustainable and the music is getting shitter. And I think that's the problem. And for everyone who just kind of goes, doesn't matter, AI is coming along. Yes, I understand. It will not change for a while. We are a long way off AI artists taking over and natural, real human beings making music and being the brand. That's what we connect with. And I understand AI is fantastic. It's powerful. It's going to be awesome. It's a tool. You're the hero. You are the superhero in all of this, and this is what's being forgotten. You are the artist, you are the superhero, because you have the talent, therefore you have the superhero superpowers. Without the superpowers, then there's nothing there. It's just good songs. And a good song needs to be attached to the brand, the message, the person, the thing that we relate to the most. So here's what I believe. Our music promotion cannot change. We have to work as hard as possible to make you into the artist that you want to be with the fan base you should have, because then you have more power. When you have more power, you are able to build more opportunities and to discuss this stuff to turn the tide. We have to build our authority. We have to make our voices heard, and we have to make noise, which means me, which means you, which means anybody you know. It can't just be bury our head in the sand and hope for the best. It can't be a lottery. What it's got to be is we have to make our voices heard, which means every YouTube video that explains this, every Instagram that shows off how little your royalties are giving you, how little that you are getting back for how much work you are putting in, for your fan base, for your audience to understand and go, hang on, I love you, and this is what you're having to deal with. This is bullshit. We have to make noise, and we have to do it together. We have to sign this petition. We need 100,000 signatures minimum, and that's going to be tough. This is going to take 2 or 3 years. We can't just do it for a small amount of time and then go, oh, I couldn't tense the muscle any longer. We have to make noise. We have to show people that the only way forward is legislation. So please, if you are a YouTuber, make a YouTube about this. If you are a journalist, write a blog, do a magazine article, a newspaper article. We have to spread the word that this isn't good enough, not only because artists are getting the most amount of inequality ever, but more importantly, because the music is getting shitter. Because the only way that we can actually build this is more. Quantity. Artists are focused so much more on socials than they are on music, and we need to readdress the balance. The music has to be the heartbeat, and then after that, we can build the promotion around it. So if you know somebody who's a podcaster, a blogger, a journalist, a YouTuber, please reach out to them and let them know that this isn't good enough and music is suffering, and we need to create a united voice to get this message heard to the world. And if you haven't signed the petition yet, then the link is in the description. I'll also put it in the comment, the pin to the top of the comments as well. Please do that. Send it to as many people as possible. This is our time. We have control, but we need the rewards. This is on us.